I am so like overwhelmed with just like clutter of other people's opinions. I can't listen to other educational podcasts. No, I can't. I need space. And I just listened to that instinct and I'm like, okay, universe, tell me, what do I need to do next? Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to reconnect with you on the podcast. It's for those of you that listen regularly, weekly, when the episodes were coming out weekly. I know it's been a bit of a lull, and I can't wait to share everything with you today on why. And today's going to be a bit of a different episode. I've just been through a journey recently, and I needed that time for myself, that quiet, that spaciousness. And I want to share it with you all because I know for me, when I really have, entrepreneurs that I really look up to and inspire me along my journey, when they share when things are harder for them, or maybe they don't have clarity on next steps, it just gives me this like huge sigh of relief within myself. Like, oh my gosh, okay, if they also have those seasons in life, then I'm good. Like I can still get to where they are if that's my goal. Because sometimes we could just feel so alone in our seasons that feel more like a quote unquote down. And if we feel that way, we sometimes compare ourselves to others online and think, well, they have it all figured out. They don't experience this. So because I'm experiencing this down, like I'm never going to actually be able to get to where they are. And then, man, those thoughts can be really toxic to ourselves and like have us spiral down. And my one of my values for me personally and in my business and with showing up for you here on the podcast and my students is to be open and transparent and vulnerable, because vulnerability creates connection and it just humanizes us and the whole experience. Like we are all human, we all go through these things, and sometimes, especially with this whole online world, it just can kind of feel sometimes like people, like we forget that other people are human. and and I just want to like, because I feel like I've taken like a pause in showing up for you, and because I needed that break, and I'm going to get into it, but now I feel like I need to reconnect because I feel disconnected from the community right now. And so I'm like, okay, connection, I want to just be open. What happened? Like and I know for me, I know I experienced things in my life so that then I can take my lessons and help others that have gone through the same thing. So whenever I'm going through a time and it feels harder, I'm like, it's okay, because eventually maybe someone else will need help with that and I've gone through it, and I will be able to know how to like help guide them or uplift them. So this is different. This is going to be an episode. It's the idea of the title came to mind, audio diary, not having it figured out. I don't know if that's the title I'm going to end up with. I'm going to just kind of go with the flow here. I have my notes in front of me to make sure I don't forget anything, but yeah, here we go. And also, by the way, it's like, what date is it today? August 16th, 2023. And I just went for like such a nice morning walk outside. I just love starting my days off that way. And sometimes I get into the rhythm where I'm like, okay, I do it automatically every day. And then sometimes I stop, and then I wonder why my energy levels are low in the morning. And it's like, well, Sarah, you stopped your morning walks. So I went on a morning walk today. Felt so nice to have like the morning sun on me. Came back home, did whatever I felt like intuitively in the moment, which inspired me, which actually was to send you all an email that can help you get out of um, overwhelm into inspired action. Because sometimes when we feel so overwhelmed with so much to do, we actually feel so paralyzed that we don't even know what to do next, that we don't even take action. And then the snowball effect of overwhelm continues, because if you stop taking action, that means your to-do list just grows and grows and grows and grows, and that creates more overwhelm. So I just felt inspired to send you all that today. And then I hopped into the shower. I'm like, my hair needs to wash, and wash my hair. And now I'm here sitting in like the summer, like heat of the house. Like my office gets really hot because I have all my like computer, my server. I don't know. My office just gets hot with this stuff. And I'm seeing the sun coming through my window, and my hair. I wish I could literally live life with my hair wet all the time. Like when I go away anywhere where there's like a beach vibe. Like when we went to Barbados for a month, I literally was just like, even in the middle of the day, I would just like dampen my hair and wet my hair so I could just walk around with wet hair. It just like cools off my body. It makes me feel like I'm always at a beach. Oh, so if you're watching this on YouTube, that's why I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm showing up with wet hair just because I feel like it right now. And that's the energy I've been approaching a lot of things with recently. And it's just been so like, what's the word I'm looking for? Empowering. And like fuck it. I don't care what I quote unquote should do, should not do. A lot of people show up more kind of like done up on YouTube and stuff, or on Instagram. And I'm just like, right now, I don't want to. There could be other days where I'm like, yeah, I want to like do my hair and like put on a cute outfit and like do that and be in that energy. And that is cool. But like, I'm like, just be like, I don't have to do that just because that's like quote unquote what other people do. So because I know that right after I came out of the shower, that's where I knew it was the moment to share this all with you. It just like, when that intuitive hit happens, that like inspiration, that energy happens within your body, and you're just like, I want to do this now. I want to share this now. And I'm like, I don't want to spend another hour drying my hair, putting on maybe makeup, and then I'm like, that energy will leave, and then I won't have energy to actually do this and share this with you. I'm like, what's most important? I'm like, me looking quote unquote put together, or me sharing this with you? And I'm like, no, I'd rather just like go with the flow and share it. So that's what I'm doing. So in the last year, so it's nuts. Ben in like a couple weeks is going to be a year and a half already. And holy moly, has that been a journey for me of like becoming a mom and transitioning into parenthood and all of that, and how out of control it can feel so often. Oh my goodness. Like I still need to, I'm going to do an RRT session with my therapist next week actually, and I'm going to do it on the whole feeling of like loss of control, because sometimes if like Ben, now he's in the phase of like throwing his food when he's eating it, and it's like it just like winds me up, and it creates this like reaction within me. And I'm like, this isn't healthy. I don't want to be like triggered like this. I want to be a calm, at peace, like regulated mom for him. And so that he knows how to be regulated, right? It's so fascinating to me how kids teach us how to regulate if we choose to consciously like work towards that, right? And how we teach them how to regulate. So if we want to break the cycle of, people having like humans arguing with each other, not listening to understand, and all of that, we need to first learn how to regulate ourselves so that then our kids can see that and take that and put that into how they show up in the world. So I'm definitely like having a moment with that right now, but I'm excited to get that cleared within me. And I'm just so proud of how much I've grown with like the acceptance of the loss of control, because he just like does so much, and I have to like, he just like does what he wants throughout the day. And it's like, you have to like cater to what they want, but also learn how to slowly transition into discipline as they start to understand that, but discipline in a way that's like kind and like calm. Oh my gosh, it's a whole thing. Anyway, that's not what this episode is about, but again, this is an audio diary. That's what I'm going through right now. So pretty much last year, 2022 looked a certain way for me. And so pretty much February 27th, 2022, I gave birth, and then I took 3 months off pretty much. I think it was like 2.5 months where I just like didn't work. And then I went into a wedding season where I had 32 weddings right after becoming a new mom. And then on top of that, later in the year, in October, I had my launch for my course, Outsourcing Made Easy, which I open the doors to once every year. So it was like a packed year, but I prepped myself ahead of time so that I could take that on in a way where I could work part-time hours, so about 25 to 30 hours a week. And then the rest of the time would be family time as we navigated this new chapter of like becoming a new family. Rory took pat leave. So that's what was really great was like when I was working, he was with Ben. And then when I wasn't working, we were just all together as a family. And to some of you, you're like, wait, Sarah, how the heck? Like, there's no way. You had 32 weddings. And then after that, you also were showing up a lot of on social media. You were creating podcast episodes like weekly. I was creating weekly podcast episodes. And then I had a huge OMI launch, my biggest one ever, where I accepted, I think it was like 48 new students into outsourcing made easy. And then I was then supporting them. It's like, how in 25 to 30 hours a week, including shooting, by the way, guys, including shooting time. It's all possible. And that was my last year. That's what I felt really, really aligned with, was to like do that. That felt really good. I somehow had the energy for it. I'm going to be totally honest. I wish that ideally, it would have been ideal if I had maybe 25 weddings max instead of 32. So if I just took away like 7 weddings, I felt like I would just have that much more spaciousness. Because with the 25 to 30 hours a week I was working, every minute I was working, I was so like hyper focused and like doing the tasks that only I could do that would generate like either revenue or like impact results and all that. So obviously I did it with the help of my team and outsourcing and all of that. I wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. But I had the energy for that. I had the motivation. I was so driven to show other entrepreneurs, other photographers, other parents what's possible. It's possible to work part-time hours, make multiple 6 figures, and have part-time, like outside of like the extra time you would have been working if it was full-time, you can have so much more family time if you want. It's all doable. And so that felt so good to me last year to freaking be so focused with that and prove that to myself first and foremost, and then to show the world that that's possible. So once that was over in beginning of November, so the launch ended like near the end of October, and then came that kind of like slower rest period for me. And what was part of the plan for 2022 was, yes, I would work those part-time hours from May to October, but then from November to December, I was going to take that time off, those months off. And I was going to take pretty much November, December, January off. And that was just going to be our family time. And in November, we went to Barbados for a month, a whole month as a family. And we really wanted to take advantage of that with Rory having pat leave, because it's like, when else are we going to be able to just like take a month off? Like, I know I can in my business, but with Rory working with his job, he has obviously limited vacation. So we really wanted to take advantage of that. So since November 2022 until July 2023, which is like very recent, actually, it's just like 2-3 weeks ago, things looked very different for me than last year in 2022. And by the way, I'm a Cancer sign, and I'm like nearing my period. I might get emotional on this podcast. I might just start crying. Like the other day, I was at the park with Ben, and I was watching him starting to get interested in with playing with other kids, and it just like hit me like, oh my God, that's such a new like milestone, where it's like he doesn't just want to play with mommy at the park anymore. He wants to play with other kids. And I was just like sitting there trying so hard not to bawl my eyes. I was like tearing up. Oh my gosh, that was just like a couple days ago. But yeah, I thought I would just have like November, December, January, like off and create that spaciousness for myself. And then when it came time in February, we found a part-time nanny, and I was like, okay, wait, let me backtrack a bit. Okay, November, December, family time, all of us. Rory had pat leave. But then in January going into most of February, I was going to be primary caretaker this time while Rory went back to work in January. So that's why I had that additional time off as well. And then when we went so I was like, at that time, I was like grateful for that time, but it was winter, and as much as I try every year so much, as much as possible, it's just not my thriving season. I do I do what I can. I'm not gonna lie, this winter I did not go outside as much. Like that didn't help me at all because I didn't go on walks as much as possible. In Barbados, we went on walks all the time, and then we came back into winter and we just kind of like stayed at home. Even Ben was like in shock when we went outside in the winter after being in Barbados. He was like, I don't like the cold. And then I think we just kind of like, oh, let's just stay cozy and comfy. So not going outside at all that much in the winter definitely didn't help my mental health. But I was kind of like in this limbo of wanting that time off with Ben and knowing that that's like a fleeting time in my life, but also feeling like I just took 2 full months off in my business. I'm so used to like having the pulse and the health on my business in check. And it's like, I felt like it was just slowly like degrading in a way. Like, is degrading the right word? I think so. Like falling apart. Let's just say falling apart. And it's like, it wasn't really falling apart, but it was like, I wasn't putting out podcast episodes anymore. I wasn't like nurturing like my Instagram account and all of that. And it just gave me a lot of anxiety and stress. And because of that, I was in this limbo of like, I'm here and spending this time with Ben. And then I'm also stressed that I can't work or like I'm not working. But I knew that I needed to stay in it because I'm like, you have to discover what is that? Why do you feel like you need to work? Because I had income coming in. I was fine. I had income from 2022 in the bank. I have monthly reoccurring income coming in from students that do payment plans with me for my courses. Like I literally have been working all these years to set myself up for this moment so that when we have a family, I can take as much time as I want off and have money coming in. So it's like, it was very interesting to me. Why am I still stressed? Why am I still stressed? And for me, of course, it's like I just don't want to fall behind because then there was so much more to rebuild. So that idea kind of crept up on me. And then I also felt like I was letting you all down because I'm like, I feel like people need me in my guidance. And I'm like, I just feel like I just like dropped off the end of the earth. It's like, where's Sarah like guiding us? Right. And it's just very interesting. And so February, we hired a part-time nanny. So I kind of transitioned into, okay, now part-time. I can work part-time, but I didn't have energy. I don't know why. I didn't have energy to create. And then it was stressful because I'm like, okay, well now it's like, let's say it's like March, like beginning of March, end of March. Let's say that's like 4 or 5 months now. Wait, November, December, January, February, March. That's 5 months of me like having time off and like not really, growing the business as I was used to doing. And that anxiety and stress and created more pressure within me to like perform. And then of course, we can't be creative under pressure. That's not how I was used to operating my business before that. Before I had Ben, before I had a baby, I created from excitement, from flow, from inspiration. And so, yeah, I was so used to creating kind of like in flow. And because we didn't have a little one, I had more spaciousness and freedom in a way to work whenever I was inspired or sleep in to get the rest that I needed. Right. Like, so this is why this transition for me has been tricky because I'm so used to going with the flow, with the energy that of my business. And that's how I create. And that's how I was able to always just be so creative, to needing more structure with a little one. And then to me, structure feels like it like hinders my creativity. And this is why I'm creating this episode this way. I'm like, I don't want structure right now. I'm craving flow and like whatever comes to mind. And that's what I want to share. Right. So that was really hard for me. And then it's like months went by, like March went by, April. And I'm like, it's like nearing wedding season. And I really wanted to like use off season to just set up some other things on the back end of my business. I really wanted to like already start podcasting and reconnecting with you all, but I just felt so like a dried up well. It's like I had nothing to give. And it was so frustrating and sad and heartbreaking for me because I felt like I like built something and I put in so much like energy and effort, and I felt like it was just crumbling underneath me. And it after 12 years of building something and then it feeling like it's crumbling, it's like, of course it's going to affect you. See, damn it. I knew I was going to cry. but I knew I had to like stay in it. There's some kind of lesson. I didn't know it. I didn't know it at that time. And also one thing I did know is that I'm in the year of self-discovery, which is exciting. And also, this is what happens. We're in mystery. We're just like, what? And the way I know I'm in a year of self-discovery is because in numerology, there's like 9-year cycles, and every year has a theme. I mentioned this before on the podcast. And right now, so year 6 was last year for me, which was 2022. And guess what year 6 represents? Family and relationships and responsibility, which is mind blowing to me because that's when I became a mom, right? And then, so this year is year 7 for me, and that is self-discovery. And by the way, there's also a separate collective kind of like cycle. The way I figured out my year, just literally go into Google and be like, my year in numerology, how to calculate. And you just put in your like birth date, birth time, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And then it gives you where you're at in the cycle. But then also the collective, like all of us as humans also go through cycles as a collective. And mine always aligns with the collective. So for me, I'm in year 7 right now, which is, so the theme is self-discovery. And for the collective, it's also year 7, and it's the theme of self-discovery. So I find that really cool. And I'm actually really happy that I like that, because if I am wanting to uplift and inspire others, I feel like I do need to be tuned into the needs and like where people are. So I love that. And others might have like, you might be in year 4 right now, but then the collective is in year 7. So it's very interesting, that kind of stuff. I'm not fully like, I don't know a ton about that kind of stuff. I'm just like slowly learning about it as I'm curious, but I just know that I'm in self-discovery in that year. And last time I was in this year was 9 years ago. And that's when I met Rory. That's when I like transformed. I had so much clarity in the second half of the year at that time on how to show up in my business in a way that was like aligned with me, my personality. That is where I learned how to implement everything that I teach in my Crystal Clear Marketing mini course, where I learned exactly how to niche down what made me happy, what fulfilled me, and how to show up fearlessly as myself. That was the year that happened. And so I know I'm in something right now, and I know that there's mystery ahead of me. I don't know everything yet. I don't have it figured out, but I know it'll come as long as I just follow my intuitive nudges, my curiosity, sharing what I feel like sharing, like this podcast episode right now. And I know I will get that clarity. So that's why, where was I? So yeah, that's why since November, after me having that, like last year felt like such a badass year for me, because like I just felt so empowered as a new mom. Like it just got harder for me, like at a different stage in like, I can't even explain it. It's like, it's also like blurred together. But okay, let me see. So yeah, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Let's say we're there. Okay, we're at May. I'm still feeling like I don't have energy to create. And then what hit me is I realized that I feel like I'm a dried up well to share with you all and to guide you all, because I felt like since the podcast aired, which was November 2019, I genuinely feel that I've given you everything I know, everything that like has helped me. And since I've created my 3 courses, so Crystal Clear Marketing, Intuitive Storytelling, where I teach you my whole process on documenting wedding day stories for couples, and Outsourcing Made Easy. So through all the podcast episodes and those 3 courses, I just felt like I've given it all. And then it's like, I just hit a point where it's like, okay, it's time for Sarah to recharge, to rediscover some new things, to learn new things, to grow, so that then I can show up and guide people again in a new way. So that's how I felt. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I've given so much. I just need the space now. And that's okay. I really had to like work on like me feeling guilty that I wasn't showing up for you guys. Like But then I'm like, Sarah, like you need to like take care of yourself. You can't show up for other people if you don't take care of yourself first. Even though, by the way, the thing that was so frustrating was like I was like doing the things. I was spending quality family time. I was getting a lot of rest. I was getting support from our nanny so that I can work out, go on really long walks, meditate, all that stuff. And I still wasn't feeling energized. I'm like, I am doing all the things, and why don't I still have energy or inspiration? So I'm just sharing all of this because I'm like, what if one of you listening is going through that same thing? It's like, I'm about to get to where I'm starting to get more energy. So don't worry about that. It's around the corner for you. Maybe not. Maybe it'll take months, but it's not there, not like that forever. So I resisted this whole thing of like me not having energy for a long time. And it's literally was from January to May, 5 months of me resisting where I was. And it's like, if I was resisting it, that means I wasn't fully present in the opportunity that I carved out for myself. And maybe some of you are resisting where you are right now. And it's like, I'm sharing this because I don't want any of you to have regrets on you trying to rush through a season or a chapter in your life. I don't have regrets about it because I knew I was doing the best. I was doing the best that I could. I knew I was in resistance, but I was also actively conscious about it and trying to meditate about it or still prioritize taking care of my strength, going to the gym. I was still very present with being like, I am so grateful with these moments with Ben. It was this background noise that I can't explain, this background frustration of, okay, this is great and I'm so grateful, but like for this time and for this like downtime, but like give me my inspiration, please. Like it was this like, yeah, background frustration. So don't get me wrong that it's like I didn't waste January to May where it's like, nope, I was just like fully not grateful for that time and just like in my head the whole time. No, there's this background noise. And I'm just like, it's okay. I'm going to figure out how to get rid of that background noise. So then came the time in June. We had a family trip booked to Poland for 3 weeks. I went for 3 weeks, Rory for 2 weeks, for me to visit my family. My grandparents and my uncle live in Poland, and they didn't meet Ben yet. Like they only saw him virtually on Skype and all of that, and they didn't meet Ben yet. So this was like such a like special trip for me, like once in a lifetime. Rory also has never met them before in person. And I also wanted to make sure to fly out my parents so that they can be there for the moment that my grandparents meet Ben for the first time. It was such a special once in a lifetime trip for me. And that trip like grounded me so much. It helped me like heal a lot of that like frustration that I was feeling, the resistance that I didn't have the energy to like create and guide others and like I used to. And it was just so healing for me because those 3 weeks, so we were there. I went there a week early before Rory because again, he has limited vacation time, and plus it's like there's a language barrier. Like my family only speaks Polish. He doesn't speak Polish. So for him, like being there with my family for a week would have been enough for him to like, meet them, have that time or whatever. But I wanted to go for as long as I possibly could. And I had that gap in the summer between weddings. So I went there. It was so special. And then Rory came, met everybody. He like gelled with everybody so well. It was so much fun. And then at the end, Rory and I wanted to also have our own time exploring Poland with Ben. So we also had our own week of like going south in the mountains and like hiking with Ben. And Ben discovered nenes, horses. He's obsessed now. It's hilarious. But that whole process, like I knew it was fleeting. And it was so fleeting because like it's 3 weeks and I don't know when I'm going to see my grandparents again in person and them spend time with Ben. And I was just there every moment, just taking it in. And I felt so grounded. And it was such a reminder, like, this is what life is about. This is what life is about. And I was just like, Sarah, like, it's okay if you're in this time. You're meant to just be here now. You're not meant to create right now. You're meant to just enjoy, to laugh, to play, to rest. Like, that's what you need to worry about right now. Nothing else matters. It really put things into perspective. And I'm like so grateful for that, because then I came back home with that same energy. And it was like, we came back like July 9th, I think, or 8th. And then I came back home totally with a totally different energy. And I was just like, cool, if I don't have the inspiration to create yet, it'll come. This too shall pass. This won't be forever. This is what I'm meant to be feeling right now and doing right now. And so I just continued to take care of myself and just do what felt right to me, even if it didn't make sense. And that helped me feel so much peace. And I felt like I got more out of my life by through that acceptance. And I don't know I mean, it's just interesting how that trip was the catalyst for that. I'm trying to understand, like, could I have done it any other way? And I don't know. It didn't happen any other way, but that's what really grounded me. But then, okay, this is where I realized something that really helped me. So when we got back from Poland, and again, I was in like that acceptance of, okay, this is where I'm at. And I was just following my curiosity, and something told me, okay, click on this random meditation insight timer. So I meditated, and this person did a guided meditation, and she was just talking about like the polarity in life and the power of neutrality. Everything clicked for me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I get what I need to do right now. I just need to be more neutral, because then I will attract the right things my way, and everything will slowly come together. So like she was basically saying that with everything in life, there's polarity, there's a law of polarity. And if you have indecisiveness, there's decisiveness. If there's confusion, there's clarity. If there's being disorganized, there's being organized. If there's pressure, there's pleasure. I'm referring here to my journal, some other ones she mentioned. If there's desperation, there's cheerfulness. If there's restriction or limitation, there's freedom. If there's anxiety, there's inner peace. And if they're serious, they're silly. And she pretty much prompted afterwards, she's like, sit down with yourself and really notice what you notice, which like polarities are coming up for you. She's like, draw a triangle, and then whatever you're experiencing, like she's like, think of something you've been experiencing lately. And for me, for example, one of them was like attachment, I think. Attachment to what used to be, how I used to be inspired and energized, and how I ran my business before having a baby. And so I drew a triangle, and then on the bottom left-hand corner, I wrote attachment. And she's like, now write down the opposite of that, which is the polarity thing. Write that down. And so it was detachment. And she's like, now the trick is to live in the center line of neutrality between those two. Because when you're neutral, you're not attached to either or. She explained it so beautifully. And I think actually I'm going to make sure to link that meditation in this episode, because it was very useful for me. So she's like, now imagine the top of the triangle is the midpoint, and that's your neutral point. Let me see, what else did I write here? Okay, so a good question would be, so for example, if you're sitting there and you're self-reflecting, like I was, and I felt attachment, and what I wanted was detachment, but I didn't want to become so attached to wanting detachment that's where she's like, become neutral, because you don't want to get so desperate to wanting the opposite of attachment, because then it's attachment. It's so mind-blowing. Oh my gosh. So she's like, a good question to ask yourself is, what is stopping me from achieving this right now? And so something that would come to mind, I'm trying to remember what came to mind. Okay. So for example, something that came to mind was sitting down at my desk and forcing myself to work for something creative to come out. And that created like attachment, and that actually made me not in flow and all of that. So then I realized, like, by answering that question for myself, I'm like, oh, me forcefully sitting myself down at my desk, being like, okay, create now, like actually wasn't useful and actually didn't help me create the result I wanted. But if I maybe approach the situation of like, okay, I'm going to just be neutral. Am I feeling like creating right now, or am I not? And then I would tune into that and be like, no, I don't have any ideas. Then I can ask myself the question, what could put me in a state of flow and creativity? And then I would answer that question for myself and say, okay, let me go for a walk. or let me read a book. Like that's different for everybody, right? But those were examples for me. And then while doing those things, just be neutral. It's like, let me just observe the world. I like the way the sun is falling on that plant. Or I'm just grateful that I can just be like grounded right now in this grass, right? And that's when the ideas come through. And that's when an idea comes through that excites you, that's when you're like, oh, okay, oh my God, I know what to do now. And you can run home and like, oh, this is exactly what I was going to say. And you can start writing or whatever. So that really helped me a lot. And moving forward, whenever I noticed my emotion or something that wasn't useful for me because it put me in a state that felt heavy or unclear or stressful or created anxiety, then I would ask myself, okay, where am I? What is this that I'm feeling? Okay, I'm feeling pressure. Okay, that's not useful for me. What is the opposite of pressure? Okay, it's pleasure. Okay, so what could put me in a state of pleasure, but also like not being attached if that doesn't happen? So it's like, okay, I don't want to feel pressure right now. What would give me a sense of pleasure? Okay, let me go like giggle and play with Ben for a little bit, and like we can run around the coffee table in the living room, give each other hugs, and that is a state of pleasure. But I can approach it from the way of like neutrality, that neutrality of going into it with no expectation. So I'm not going into the living room being like, I want to make sure I feel good now. I need to feel good because I was feeling pressure. Okay, Ben, let's play so I can feel good. It's more like, okay, that is something that I know in the past has made me feel really good and like happy and endorphins flowing through my body. So I'm going to move into that situation, but I'm going to move towards it in a neutral way where it's like, whatever happens, happens. And it's that power of neutrality, though, whatever happens, happens, going with the flow, acceptance that has you hanging out between pressure and pleasure, but then it just transforms into pleasure if you are taking the actions that you know could take you there. I hope that makes sense. I hope I explained it. I mean, I did. I explained it in the best way I could. So I can't do anything other than that. Okay. So that helped me a ton. And then this was an interesting turning point. So, oh my gosh, I'm like so hungry right now. I didn't expect a podcast this long. Okay, let me just take a sip of coffee actually. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I think from this point, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, I randomly like woke up on a Sunday and my brain said MLS. Like the pretty much MLS is like the realtor.ca website here in Ontario, Canada. And something told me like, check out the housing listings, because Rory and I have been wanting to move, but we're not like super like looking, we're not like super like pressured into moving, but we want to move. We want just like a bigger space. We want to have a better completed basement. We want to have an extra bedroom for a guest bedroom. We want to have a bigger backyard. We have just some things that we want. And something just told me, okay, check MLS. So I woke up, checked MLS. I'm like, oh, that looks like an interesting listing. And then I texted it to Rory, and then Rory's laying down next to me and he's like slowly waking up. And he's like, did you just text me like a MLS listing? And he's the one in the relationship that's like always just looking at houses. Like he loves like understanding what's happening in the area, tracking stuff. So he's just like so knowledgeable about that whenever we get into that process, he's just like has so much knowledge on that. And he's always the one showing me listings. I never care. I'm like, nah, like, I don't know. I'm like, I can move, but I also really like where we are. And just, I appreciate the lower mortgage that we have right now. So it's like, it's nice to just like have a cheap mortgage, because he got into this place like what, 12 years ago. So it's definitely a lot easier for us with that mortgage. And he's like, you never send me MLS listings. They're like, what the heck? And he's like, the crazy thing is that I was literally gonna like wake up and tell you I feel like going to see open houses today. And I was like, no way, I'm actually down for that. And usually I'm like not really down for it. He's like, oh my gosh, you're saying you're like down for it? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, let's do it. Because he's the one that like is more excited, I think, to move, and has that feeling of like he's more inspired to do that. I'm a little bit less, like I'm kind of like, I'm good where we are still, maybe for a couple of years, but definitely would want those other things that we're looking for. I'm just not in a rush. And so we were like, okay. So my mom was coming over later that day and she was going to look after Ben. And so we went looking at open houses. And the first two houses, I'm very sensitive when it comes to energy. Like I literally walk into a house and I feel the energy. And it's like, there's houses where it's like, it's not like there could be a lot of work done and I see the potential and the energy feels good. I'm like, yeah, actually, even if we have to put in a lot of work and we want to like renovate over time or soon or whatever, like cool, I could see that and it's a lot of work, but it energizes me. And the location, the spot, the energy around the spot feels really good. And that feels good to me. But then there's other times where I walk into a house that needs to be maybe renovated. And I'm just like, yeah, like I know obviously with renovating it, we can make it how we want it to be, but like the energy here is just, oh, like not uplifting for me at all. So I approach it like that. And Rory is very logical and like, yeah, but like this is like if we renovated it, we like could really get it for a good price initially and then sell it. And I'm like, no, but I need to feel really good in the space I'm in because that's how I'm able to create. And like I have to be able to feel like I can create in the space I'm in. So we both have our strengths that we bring forward. But so we're driving along, and these first two houses, I was like, oh, like, no, get me out of here. And he's like, oh, like, no, really? I'm like, yeah, no. And then we're driving in the car, and my intuition out of nowhere is like, turn on the filter in MLS to open houses only. So I click that. And then I see a listing where it has a huge like backyard backing up onto like a forest, like, and the inside looks really nice. I'm like, huh, interesting. I'm like, have you seen this one? He's like, no. And he knows all of them. He always sees everything. I'm like, that's crazy. They have an open house right now. And so we went there and I walk into the house out of nowhere. I walk into the house and it's like this like burst of like expansiveness. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I start walking into the house. The like view from the kitchen and the living room was like this big window looking out into like this long grassy backyard into the trees. And we're higher up a little bit because the basement is a walkout basement at the end. So the level down below is lower on the ground. So it looks like we have a view. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, my body started tingling and buzzing. And I actually felt all of these ideas coming in already. I was like, oh my gosh, I could actually, if I want to start like really getting even more creative with YouTube specifically, because right now I just like record a podcast episode, record the video, put it up on YouTube, right? But if I really want to get even more creative with YouTube videos, like, oh, I could see myself setting up here and like doing this here. And wow, like waking up here in the morning, seeing those trees would be such a dream. And I would just feel so energized and excited to go upstairs and work. Like that's everything that just started coming to me. And then we walked through the rest of the house and the flow was so good and exactly what we wanted. The basement was really cool. I'm like, oh my God, I can totally have in-person workshops right here. There's a fireplace, a walkout basement, and a huge backyard with like a little fire pit and twinkle lights. I'm like, oh my God. I just went like, I was buzzing. And then so this house, we all also went to open houses in different price ranges because we're just like, let's just see what's out there and whatever. So this house is over what we would want to spend because we don't want to have the lifestyle of being like house poor where everything's going to the house and then we can't like be more flexible with our spendies and stuff. And so it's over our budget, but I was like, I got that feeling again of like, if I want something bad enough, if I want it, I can get it. And I had this feeling for like 12 years in my business from the day one when I first started it up until like before I would say even 2022 up until October, I had that energy that like, if I want it, I can get it. If I want it, I can make it happen. I could figure out a way to make it happen and I can do it in a way that's like fun and I got this and it's energizing. And then from November 2022 to like June, July 2023, it was just like stale, no energy. I didn't have that belief that if I wanted, I could make it happen. But then being in this house, I got that back. And right away, I'm like, we left and I was like, I love that place. Oh my God, maybe we could figure it out. Maybe they'll sell it. Like maybe they'll like the market is a bit different right now. So I think there is room for like the price to drop and all of that. But right away, I had a new like motivator of like, I can see us here as a family and all these extra benefits. I could see our friends and family having an amazing guest space, us playing around in the backyard. And it even had like a tiny little hill where in the winter we could just go like, Ben can be on a mini sled that will take him down maybe 6 feet. And it could just be like an amazing backyard. So I just got so motivated and it energized me. And out of nowhere, I was like, okay, I got flooded with ideas on if we really wanted this place, how can I bring in an extra, let's say $4,000 to $6,000 a month if we really wanted it. And I just started writing and writing and writing. And I had all these ideas. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe all I needed for that creativity to come back is like something new to aspire to that excites me. And so that's what happened there. And then I got this huge burst of energy. And I was like, oh my God, it's here. It's still within me after being dormant for like 7 months. And so that gave me like a sigh of relief. Okay, this is an amazing point in this whole story is I got hit with all these ideas, right? But then I realized that if I really wanted to do all these ideas that I had, the back end of my business needed some cleaning up and kind of like next level process organization. So this is what I'm talking about of taking inspired action, leading with your curiosity, even if it doesn't make sense, right? Like I woke up in the morning, I was like, MLS, I don't know why, but I'm just going to follow it. Go see this open house. I don't know why. It's way out of our price range, whatever. It does not logically, it doesn't make sense, but I'm going to follow it. And so it led me to knowing, to the clarity of why I didn't have the energy to create. And it's because subconsciously I knew that if I created more, that I might be too overwhelmed with things not being a little as organized as I want them to be on the back end for the next level. So I always love pre-organizing my business before it's ready to take it to the next level. So for example, I'm super organized in my business for the level it's at right now. So all of my systems are in place, all of my outsourcing workflows are in place, all of that. But then the vision I have for the next level, I don't have those systems in place yet. And so what I like to do is create those systems, foresee the different situations that could happen, the different questions that can come through, emails come through, all of that, then create those systems, then train my virtual assistant on those systems, and then boom, hit the ground running, create, put things. That's when you get an influx of inquiries of, for me, like students, for example, community. And then I'm not burnt out. I don't hit burnout and overwhelm. I'm just having fun creating and making money, like, and making an impact. So that's what I realized that was missing. That's why it's like an energy leak. Something I'm learning about is how there could be things in the back end that need your attention that could be energy leaks, and you need to make those, like, close those loops, get that done, get that sorted, so that then that's done, and then you have the energy and capacity to create, so you can grow more. So that's the clarity I got out of going to a freaking open house. Like none of you wouldn't have thought that that's where I would get my clarity and motivation and all of that. So yeah, that's what happened. So that's where I am right now. I'm slowing down to speed up. I teach my OMI students this a lot. It's like, first, slow down, get those systems in place on the back end, and then you'll be able to hit the ground running, book all the sessions, all the weddings you want, because you have your editor, you have your culling person, you have your virtual assistant. They have your back, and you can just shoot, make money, have fun. So that's my process. And so I just needed that reminder, but on a different level. Like, it's like, I don't know, like I haven't been to where I want to go next yet. And I guess I just needed that kind of reminder. Like life just reminded me, like, hey, if you want to get to the next level, just do what you did the last time you got to where you are now. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So that's where I'm at now. And that's where I regained that inspiration, that excitement. And that's how I'm even here sharing this story with you. Like I have clarity because I'm like, I just want to share this with you. And I know it'll lead to exactly where everything is meant to go. And I know that if I have the urge to share this with you, someone is meant to hear it and it's going to help someone. So I also want to add on. So a couple weeks ago, I had a call with my therapist, Jamie, and it happened also to be on the most potent day of the Lionsgate portal. And I didn't even realize. I totally booked that call intuitively. Something told me initially, my logical mind initially was like, oh, book the call on August 1st. And then something was like, no, it has to be August 8th. I'm like, okay, whatever, intuition. August 8th, I don't get it, but I'll listen to you as I usually do, especially on wedding days. And I'm like, you don't fail me. So then during the call, so here is where I'm going to be vulnerable with you all with like everything I've been feeling about kind of like being a quote unquote educator. So I told her on the call that I have been experiencing a block of being vulnerable online for some reason again. And it was because I didn't have my shit figured out from like November 2022 to July 2023. Again, you know the whole story now. And I felt like for some reason, I told her, I'm like, I feel like for some reason, as soon as I became an educator, I all of a sudden needed to have things figured out. So when I was a photographer only, before like 2019, I would just like share everything like that I was just like feeling, going through ups, downs. And then I would share. Now, when I started the podcast, I obviously shared a lot of stories on the podcast of like my ups and downs beforehand, right? But then now, if I'm someone that is meant to like guide others and I really want to empower others to like live for themselves in a way that feels good to them and have success and do things that, you know, they might feel are not possible for them. Oh my gosh, 1111. In case that speaks to any of you. But yeah, I just felt like I have to have my shit figured out, because then who wants to learn from someone that doesn't have their shit figured out? But I'm like, but I'm a human. Anyway, I shared that with her and she's like, so you're going to hold back sharing where you're at for the people that need to hear it, for the people that don't care to hear it. And it kind of like hit me where it's like, wait, this is true. Like there are people that need to hear the downs I experienced too, because it connects us. It's funny. Why did I have that thought of like, if I don't, that's the limiting belief that I had. That was like freaking in my way. It was, who would want to learn from me or believe they can learn from me in a good way if I share that I don't have my shit together. But like I mentioned earlier, I love it when other entrepreneurs share this part of themselves, because it actually inspires me more that what they have is possible for me. And so I don't know where that came from. It doesn't make sense, but I love what she said. So you're going to hold back sharing where you're at for the people that need to hear it, for the people that don't. So she's pretty much saying like, so you're scared to share where you're at because you're scared people will be like, oh, well, then why should I even learn from her? Like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't have her life together. I'm going to move on. Right. Then that's cool. Like, those people don't need to learn from me if they don't resonate. That's totally cool. Like, they'll find someone else that they resonate with. But she's saying there are people that literally need to hear this for you to help them on a deeper level. And that was like, okay, well, now that's easy. Like, she helped me like clear that so easily, because I'm like, yeah, I'm just talking to you right now. And if you're interested in listening to what I have to say and that helps you, then I'm exactly meant to talk about this. And if I have that urge to share, then I truly believe it's like this like cosmic energetic thing where like maybe at some point you're feeling something and then the universe is like puts out like a signal like ping, and then like this, I need inspiration here, or I wish I didn't feel so alone, and ping, and I feel like it comes into me, and then my soul or something is like, oh, you should share this with on the podcast that you're going through this time, because someone else might be going through it and they need to hear it and they need to feel less alone. And I'm like, as soon as she said that, I'm like, okay, done. I'm not gonna like, why am I not showing up for the people that don't want to hear from me instead of showing up for the people that want to hear from me? So I went through that chapter, and I think we all go through it, even like as photographers with our work, right? How many times have we wanted to share an image, but then we're like, oh, but is it good enough? Like, will people judge me? What if it's not good enough? Like, I just won't share it. I won't risk it. But then we're not showing our work to the people that like are connected with it and love it and would want to book us. And then we miss out on that connection. So the same thing applies here. She also mentioned something interesting because she's like, do you know human design? I'm like, kind of like I had like someone read my chart once. Like I haven't fully dived into it yet. But she's like, but I'm like, I know I'm a generator. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes, you're giving off such generator vibes right now. Cause I basically was telling her how I'm like panicked that I'm not like everything that I mentioned that I was feeling of like me not having the creativity, not like being scared to share, as I evolve and change. Because I'm scared that if I share my new self, people will leave me and not be interested in me. And she's like, that's true. Some people are gonna leave, but most people are just gonna enjoy watching you evolve and enjoy you being there for them. But she said that generators have high levels of energy if something feels aligned to them and excites them. And then they literally can just work around the clock, like inspired and having fun. It's not even like work where it's like burns you out. It's like if you're so, as a generator, if you're super excited about a vision and an idea, and it's so aligned with your soul, you can literally just like work on it all the time. And it's like to you, it feels like a hobby. It feels like just like it feels so exciting and amazing. So for me, for example, when I first started my photography business, anything to do with my photography business lit me up, even the freaking boring stuff of like, I don't know, making sure my website was like all the links were working on my website, or editing photos, like even editing 800 photos at the start of my career. I'm like, I love this. I love this. This is so exciting. I could just work on this forever. But then as you evolve, things could get boring to you. So for example, kids, as they grow up, like Ben, he had an interest in a specific toy, let's say for like a month, and he loved it. He loved it. He would wake up every morning, be like, oh, cool, let's play with this toy. And then maybe a month later, it's like, nah, he's not attracted to that anymore. And he doesn't care to spend his time on it anymore. So she was pretty much saying, she's like, Sarah, you have to just take a look at everything right now. And because you're not feeling inspired or excited to create, it's just because you're getting bored somewhere along the way, or yeah, pretty much that, or you've evolved past something. And that spoke to me so much. And she pretty much said, like, when we get bored, we lose energy. And so initially, when I heard that, I was like, but then does that mean I'm bored of photography or teaching? And then I got scared. I was like, but like, I'm so confused because I really do love photography and teaching. But if I'm bored of it right now and I don't have inspiration to create, like, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm in the wrong career? Am I done? Like, is this all? Like, is it this done? And she's like, no, maybe you just need to find a different way of doing things. So, for example, I used to edit all of my weddings, and that made me feel more resentful about actually shooting them because I knew the workload that came after that. But I was confused because I'm like, why am I resentful of shooting wedding days? Because I love shooting weddings. And it was because I got bored of the editing. So then I had to evolve and I got help with the editing. I outsourced that. I saved myself a ton of hours. And then I became so energized and excited that I just wanted to like, so I ended up in 2018 booking 37 weddings, shooting all those weddings, fully energized, fully excited. It's because I got support and help in the area that took away my energy and that bored me. So she's like, I don't think you're bored of photography or teaching. It's just you have to figure you're just self-discovering, you're discovering a new way of approaching it that will excite you. And as soon as you just find those ways that like excite you, then you'll have all that energy back, all that creativity back. And it just made so much sense. So it was the pairing of me being scared to show up vulnerably and show that I don't have shit figured out, and the pairing of me being a little bored with how I was doing things. So I know for me, I know I'm craving in person, something in person with the community, with the Shine and Thrive podcast community. I don't know what it is yet. I'm going with the flow. I'm figuring it out. I know I'm craving more calls, like coaching calls and all of that. I don't know what it is. I'm figuring it out. So where was I going with that? Yeah, I'll figure it out. Let me just see my notes here. So yeah, and it was also the core fear of like being scared that if I evolve, some people might not want to come with me on the ride. And I had this same fear when I rebranded 9 years ago, which is this is all coming together, the numerology. Like 9 years ago, I was in the year 7 of self-discovery. That's when I went from like a generalist photographer, all professional, wearing freaking actual like suit pants to like weddings, like, oh my God, so not my style, to becoming a butterfly and just opening up, spreading my wings and being like, see me world, I'm a free-spirited, adventurous wedding photographer. I like to walk around barefoot. Get your dress dirty. That means you're having more fun. Like and I just like opened up my wings and started to fly. And it was so terrifying because I was like, all these people that saw me in this way are going to get shocked and be like, wait, what? Who are you? You know how like even I remember Taylor Swift, right? She was like this like country singer, had her like curly hair. I think she was like I don't know how old she was, 17, 18. Like the word that comes to mind is innocent, right? And then I remember seeing her, I think she like deleted her whole Instagram account and then posted like a teaser of her new album coming out, Reputation. It was all dark and there was like a snake. And I was like, whoa, what the? There's like a shock. It's like an opposite, like, what is this? Who is this person? And it kind of throws you off a bit, right? But what matters is like that she stayed true to how she wanted to express herself as an artist in that time. And I'm an artist both as a photographer and an educator. And I don't like to call myself, can someone DM me a different word other than educator? A guide, maybe? I don't know, because educators feels just like too serious for me. Like I just want to like share what's like my experiences, like what works well for me, what doesn't, and share how to like how others can tune into their own intuition and inner guidance. Like I'm not necessarily like a teacher. Anyway, so she was just being true to herself. And then whoever just wanted to be on that journey with her stuck with her. And whoever was like, nope, that's not for me, they left. But that's okay, because like we're not meant to be for everybody. And I'm relearning this lesson again 9 years later, but in a different way. And so I'm relearning it in this kind of more education space, or it can feel a little more vulnerable because sometimes, if you have an opinion, if you want to teach something a certain way, I'm always so scared that like haters will come and comment and be like, well, I think that's stupid, or I disagree. And honestly, it's been terrifying and keeping me stuck for some time. But this is what I'm growing through. I'm taking it one step at a time. And I just want to show up for who needs me. And I want to show up for myself first. I heard this quote, the game isn't worth playing unless you're having fun. And it's like, it's so true. Or no, the game isn't worth winning unless you're having fun along the way. And it's so true. So like for me, if I want to grow my business to a certain level and grow how many people I can help, is it worth getting there if I am miserable along the way? If I'm not being true to myself, if I'm not feeling free to use my voice like I am right now in this podcast episode, for example, like, no, it's not, because it's my life. I get to do what I want, how I want to do it. And whoever wants to come along for the ride, for like the whole bus ride, can come. And then whoever wants to jump on and get off at the next stop for a short while, cool, you're welcome too. It's all good. And that kind of way of seeing things makes it just feel so much more easier, not so serious. And so if you're also feeling like you're struggling showing up with like who you are, you're taking it really seriously, you don't want to be judged, like just remember that no matter what we do, people are always judging us, and they're always judging us in either a positive way, a neutral way where they're like really have no opinion, no feeling at all, or in a negative way based on their perception. And so that's their stuff. And it's like, this is our life. Like we are the ones living it. So let's just freaking have fun, do it the way we want to. And then while we're doing it the way we want to, there will be people that come across us and will feel so connected. And those are the people we were meant to connect with and meant to help. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to make sure to share. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is I think the one that I was just like most excited to share. Okay. So I think it was as soon as we got back from Poland, this is another thing that cleared my energy like crazy. So when I was like trying to like sit at my desk and like try to work when we got back from Poland, obviously I had taken 3 full weeks off. Like I'm not even joking. When we were in Poland, I worked maybe 2 hours, and that was just to send some emails, check in on like a quality check of an edit, and like book a wedding client for 2024. So I worked those 2 hours in 3 weeks. And when I got back, I'm like, okay, well, there's shit I need to do. So like I sat down in my office, like to just get some stuff done. But I was like, why do I feel so claustrophobic in my office? Like I'm like, I was so accepting in Poland and so grounded, and to just be off. And I was fully off, and I did it. And I was like, I wasn't even like stressed about being off. I was off and present. And then I come back and I'm like, why do I still not have the energy to work? I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then the word claustrophobic came into my mind. And I'm like, why do I feel claustrophobic in my office? I looked around. There's just stuff. Like there's like a painting on the wall. There's my vision board. There's my bookcase full of books. And I'm like, I need spaciousness. I am so like overwhelmed with just like clutter of other people's opinions, even those that I look up to, by the way. I need all the books that I have. Like I'm like, I can't listen to you right now. I can't listen to other educational podcasts. No, I can't. I need space. And I just listened to that instinct. And I'm like, okay, universe, tell me, I'm just gonna go with it. Tell me, what do you need? What do I need to do next? And it was just like, clear out your office. So I just started clearing things out intuitively. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take all the books off the shelf. The shelf is gonna be in my office, standing there empty, but I don't care. That's what I want to do. So I put the books away somewhere else. And then my painting that I had that I got from Morocco, which I found really inspiring when I went to Morocco like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it's been there for like 5, 6 years. And I'm like, well, it's always been there, so it should just stay there. I'm like, no, why? 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 Just because it's been doesn't mean it has to be now. Like, okay, that was a potent little thought. Okay. I took down the painting, rolled it up, put it away. I looked at my vision board for the first time in my freaking life. My vision board stressed me out. Like instead of inspiring me and getting me excited and focused, it just felt cluttered. And I'm like, seriously, I'm gonna remove my vision board? Like that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go for it. So I took away my vision board, and I even had a digital vision board on my desktop too. And something told me, just make it a black screen, make your desktop a black screen, spaciousness. So I'm like, okay. So I did that. And then I cleared out so much more clutter in my office, took down other stuff from my walls, like art that normally inspired me and I liked, but it just didn't fit this time anymore. And I had to let that go. I had to let go of that attachment that at one point it inspired me. And I had to accept that now it's not what I need. I cleared it out. And the last thing I did was, I don't know about you, but I love to rearrange my desk position like every probably couple months to give me a new perspective when I'm sitting at my desk, a new energy, a new flow in the room. And I tried moving my desk around in all the ways that I've done it before. Because, in a room, you can usually only switch things up a certain like few ways. And I'm like, no, none of these inspired me. I still feel claustrophobic. So I like fully moved like my other pieces of furniture in a different corner in the room that it's never been in. And then I move my desk in a way that if you were to like design it for a magazine, it would be like a quote unquote faux pas. Like, oh, that does not look good. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why would you put your desk there? But I put it there and I like sat behind it. I'm like, yes, this feels good. This is what I need. I need to sit here in this way, and I need the rest of the room cleaned. And pretty much my desk is, instead of being in the middle of the room, it's off to the side in like a weird way. I don't know how to explain it. Doesn't matter. But I'm just sitting at my desk in a way that I've never sat before. And it's giving me all the energy, all the vibes. It doesn't make sense, but I did that too. And that helped. So yeah, maybe if you're feeling claustrophobic in your space, in your office, move things around, get rid of stuff. It's funny, if you're watching YouTube, that shelving unit behind me, that doesn't give me the anxiousness. It's the stuff on this side that I had to like remove and stuff. So that feels good to me, but it's the other shelves that needed the space. I just needed wall space, like clear. So that's where I'm at now. So I feel like I'm excited that I shared this like audio diary with you. If you're still here listening, hey, I guess you're the one that's going to be my ride or die for the whole bus ride, or maybe you're going to get off at the next stop, and that's okay with me. Yeah, I'm just so excited to like reconnect with you again. I'm excited to just like tune into my curiosity and creation as I go. I know it'll come back in full force. I'm just going to follow my curiosity right now and get there, because I know I could feel it. I could sense it. I had that break that I needed. And now I'm starting to feel it bubble up. You know, when you're like right now, every morning I have 2 soft boiled eggs for breakfast. That's just what I'm eating now. It always changes. But whenever I do shift my breakfast, I eat the same shit for like 4 or 5 months in the morning, and then a new breakfast. But I'm always like, the water needs to heat up, and it gets to like this like pre-boiling point where you can tell that it's just about to boil. And that's where I feel like I'm at. I feel like I'm like, oh, the tiny, tiny bubbles are coming up, and they're about to become like big bubbles, and they're going to pop up and be big hits of inspiration and explode and all of that. So I feel like I'm in the like pre-boiling phase. I'm really excited about it. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I get to have a podcast to like just talk freely like this. And also, I would love to know if this episode connected with you. Again, I'm missing the connection with you, with the community that I've cultivated over the last handful of years. And what helps me get my water to a boil is the connection with you and knowing that what I'm sharing is helping. So if you can DM me at Sarah Monica Photo, Sarah no H, Monica with a K photo. And if this like lit you up in some way, if this made you feel something, if this made you feel less alone, if this like uplifted, motivated you to feel less stress and pressure around having like a quote unquote down in your creativity, and you know like that it could, now, oh, maybe I can try this and it'll just like come back to me slowly. Like anything that resonated with you, please let me know. I'm so excited to reconnect, continue to share imperfectly, vulnerably with wet hair, maybe in the future again, probably, but maybe not in the winter because that's freezing. No, thank you. All right. I think that's about it. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye-bye. Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.